up, my people? Today, we are talking about gaslighter early red flags. What are the red flags? What are the tells early on that a gaslighter is about to enter your world, right? That the person that you find so compelling, or that is your boss, or that is whatever, your colleague, how do you tell you're dealing with a gaslighter? That's what we're talking about, early red flag signs. So let's get started. Before we dive in, if you're one of those people that is just, conflict is hard. Gaslighting is way harder, but even just regular conflict is hard. I really want to recommend you take my No Enemy Conversation course, which is noenemy.bronwyncommunications.com. That is 1 hour that will give you all of the skills you need to be strong, regulated, badass, but also easy to connect with during a moment of conflict at work. Really recommend you take that class. It could totally change the way you see conversations in general. And P.S., it will make you gaslight resistant. I'm just saying it's that powerful. I just literally got an email from somebody saying that course changed their life. So I'm just going to leave that there. Okay, let's get back to it. Okay, so what are the red flags, right? What are the early warning signals that you're about to be dealing with a gaslighter? Here's the thing. If you really boil it down, before we get into this, I want to define our terms a little bit. What do we mean when we say gaslighting? Here's what I mean. Here's the literal definition. Gaslighting is the psychological manipulation of a person, usually over an extended period of time, which causes the victim to question the validity of their own thoughts, their perception of reality, or their memories. It typically leads to confusion, loss of confidence and self-esteem, uncertainty of one's emotional or mental stability, and a dependency on the perpetrator. Isn't that convenient? Let me make you feel so crazy you're dependent on me. That's what a gaslighter does. And if you're like, yeah, but how does that manifest at work? Look, it totally manifests at work. If you have a boss that is consistently gaslighting you that you suck, but rewards you just enough to keep you working there, they're going to make you think that you suck so bad you couldn't get a job somewhere else for more money because you're this is the only place that will tolerate your badness, which you aren't, by the way. But you might have a boss that's gaslighting you into thinking that. That's how that works at work sometimes, right? But whatever, that's the definition. What are the early warning signs that you are about to be involved with someone who might manipulate you over a period of time, causing you to question the validity of your own thoughts? And I will tell you what, one of the early tells is behavior modification. What do I mean by that? It's incredible the way psychology works, but people can change your behavior by how they relate to you. For example, there was this really interesting example I heard recently, and I wish I could remember where I heard it, but I cannot. There was a professor of psychology, which is rich, right? There was a professor of psychology who was teaching a class, and his students, unbeknownst to him, decided that they were going to modify his behavior without him knowing it. So what they did is every time he moved to the right side of the classroom, the whole class would act disengaged and bored. Bored, bored, bored. And the minute the professor moved to the left side of the classroom, they would all lean forward and act like they were just like completely dazzled by him. By the end of the semester, that professor was only ever lecturing, leaning against the left-hand wall. Leaning. And when the class finally brought him in on the experiment, he denied it. He was like, oh no, I've always taught on the left-hand side of the wall. And they're like, LOL, don't you gaslight us. We literally designed it, right? But that's how behavior modification works. It's so subtle that even a psychologist refused to believe that he was getting played, but he was, right? So pay attention. For example, if you do something and the person that you're dealing with goes from warm and kind and interested to disengaged and cold, that could be a sign that they are trying to manipulate you into behaving a certain way. For example, let's say you're at work and you bring up an issue to your boss or your colleague and you're like, God, I'm struggling with this. I don't totally agree with our decision here. I have a different perspective. And suddenly you get ice and you go, oh, you know what? We don't have to talk about this right now. Let's talk about this another time. That's a red flag for me. That's a red flag for me. In fact, one of the greatest things you can do when you're in the early days of a relationship with someone and you suspect you might be on the lookout for red flags for gaslighting, just watch how they react when you say no. Watch how they react when you push back. Watch how they react when you dissent. Watch how they react when you recommend something that wasn't their idea. That will tell you pretty much everything you need to know about them. If they are like ice, or if they're like, well, not only is that a stupid idea, you're stupid, right? If it becomes not just attacking the idea, but attacking you for even having the idea, honey, you are dealing with a gaslighter and quite possibly a narcissist, but definitely a gaslighter. Another red flag is inflexibility, deep rigidness, right? If you're dealing with someone who has always done things a certain way and who literally cannot even conceive of a scenario where there is some flexibility, some give in the system, considering that things might be done a slightly different way, that's a huge red flag. When you're dealing with someone who's super rigid, who's super inflexible, they do not like their boat rocked, and they will do whatever it takes to keep that boat the same way it is, up to and including gaslighting you. So that's another red flag. But honestly, the final red flag I want to tell you about is love bombing, or the golden child factor, which is you ever work with someone or meet someone who just makes you feel like you are literally the end all be all of human existence, like you are the golden child, like you can do no wrong. They might give you gifts, or they might shower you with compliments, or they might ask you the most incredibly insightful questions about your history, and it seems like they want to know everything about you, right? And you feel like, oh my God, I feel like there's this fabulous spotlight on me right now. This is like the greatest thing ever. Be careful, be careful. Gaslighters, and also narcissists, but gaslighters are very, very good at making people feel like the spotlight is on them. They're like, how do I get this person to feel completely at ease around me? Because it's easier then to manipulate. Because you know what happens? If we've been in the love spotlight and suddenly the spotlight leaves us, we're like, oh God, what do I have to do to get back into that spotlight? Like, it must be me. I must have done something. I got to figure myself out. And we bend ourselves into pretzels to try and get back into the spotlight again, to try and get back into that golden child status. That is a huge ginormatron red frigging flag. Okay, the way human relationships are supposed to work is there is a healthy give and take. Sometimes I give, you take. Sometimes you give, I take. If I say no, I don't like that idea, it's okay for us to negotiate and compromise and come up with a solution. I heard a great Carolyn Mace interview today. In fact, you should check it out. It's with Oprah. It's from like 2012 from Super Soul Sunday. And, you know, Oprah Winfrey says, how do you know you're on course with your life's purpose? How do you know you're doing the right thing and living your best life? And Carolyn Mace says, you know you're doing the right thing and you're on course with your life's purpose when you no longer have to betray yourself. Friends, gaslighters ask you over and over again to betray yourself. Over and over again. And if you won't betray yourself, they'll make you feel like you're crazy. If you're watching this video, your opportunity right now is not to go watch a bunch more videos. Your opportunity is to learn how to say no to the gaslighter. Check out my YouTube channel. It's literally hours and hours of free content on what tools you need, what scripts you need. Stop watching videos about everybody's gaslighting stories. Start watching videos about scripts and communication tools and start using them. And stop abandoning yourself. Stop betraying yourself. Because once you become one of those people that knows not to betray or abandon yourselves, the gaslighters won't want to have anything to do with you because they'll be like, well, she isn't a pushover. Can't manipulate her. Gotta bounce, right? That's your opportunity. I hope this was helpful. I'm sending you all of my love and best wishes. And I'll see you next week. Shine on. We need your light.